to everyone who's taken time out and joined the session. I see quite a few participants logging in, so we'll give it another minute, and then we will start with the session. So we'll start it in another minute. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the sixth session of the wellness series that we're running as a part of our effort to stay connected with each of our professionals during these challenging times. I am Sweetie Bantia and I'm part of the Central Talent team as a part of the Total Rewards team. Today, we are going to be having a very interesting session. A warm welcome to our colleagues from the Sri Lanka, Mauritius, and the Bangladesh practice as well, who've taken time out and joined the session. So, today's topic is going to be very interesting. We wanted to connect up with professionals and understand which are the areas where they were, trying to navigate and manage. And one of the areas that came up interestingly was how to keep kids engaged, how to understand the changes in their behaviors, and how to work as partners and spouses during these times to manage your children. With that intent, we've invited Meghna Yadav as a part of the session. Meghna, could you please move to the next slide? So I'll give a quick introduction about Meghna. Meghna has done a master's in child psychology from San Jose University, California. She's been working in the field of early childhood education for almost 2 decades now. Having a strong background of child development, she's playing an integral role in the whole initiative being run by Clay Preschools and Daycare as a part of their parent and partnership initiative. With that, I will hand it over to Meghna to take the session ahead. A request to all the participants is to please keep your mics on mute so that the session does not get disturbed. At any point of time, if any of you have a query, please post it in the Q&A section and we will take up all the queries at the end of the session. Meghna has planned the session in such a way that we get good half an hour to answer all your queries because this is going to be a more interactive session. So please park your queries and we will take them up at the end of the call. With that, handing it over to Meghna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sweetie. And thanks a ton to everybody who has logged in for this session. I will take this up as a personal advantage as well, because when you ask questions and when you post your queries, that's when I find it most interesting. So I have saved enough time because this allows me to work harder, connect with you, and also work in the direction where research becomes more appropriate for your day-to-day functioning. Keeping all that in mind, I'm basically a retired person, as Sweetie just said, and right now I am working with multiple companies, but Clay Prep Schools and Daycare is my only client in India. I'm honored, I'm privileged to be associated with the Parent Partnership Initiative, and I seriously feel that we as Indian parents are blessed to have a unique flavor to our parenting. And in terms of crisis, or when a family is going through a tough time, or when it is a pandemic across globe like right now, we do go through certain challenges, not only as adults, but we really need to see what our children are going through in our families. And I'll be honest in starting this session that actually we don't have much research in this direction as such, where we know how children respond to crisis, or how children work around when they see some changes in their routine. But we do have studies about peculiar families going through changes, children facing trauma in early life, and how the attachment functions in this time, especially how families respond and what has worked for them in past. So keeping all that in mind, I have customized this session purely for the age group that is given to me, and I hope you will find the session useful, because we are going to cover a bit of basics of attachment that a family feels during crisis or during not so crisis time. We will talk in depth about how sharing the load helps and what are our critical roles as mom and dads. I'm also a mother of two young children, and pretty much going through the same. So first of all, my apologies if you hear my children in the background, though my husband has gracefully agreed to share the load. But my apologies if you hear some background noise. I'll save enough time, as Sweetie just mentioned, for Q&A, because that's when I will share more practical tips with each one of you. But to begin with, let's try to understand how does it work. So uh, the moment a mom conceives, the moment a child comes in the womb of mommy, parent dear, the most important thing that happens is that the mommy goes through those physiological changes, and as well as emotional changes during those 9 months. So mommy is very much attached to the baby before the baby comes to this world, and daddy tends to get attached to the baby when the baby comes to this world. When the daddy dear holds the baby in his hands, that's when the attachment comes. Why I am talking about attachment in the beginning, because we really need to know that how our children perceive when they are in the family, and more so true when the family is not following the routine that children are used to. And let me tell you, as soon as the child comes to this world, dear, child can sense the changes happening in the surrounding. So the very first thing that we need to know over here is that because the attachment is there between parent, mommy, daddy, and the baby, trust me, your baby is actually very much ready to understand that something is going on in my surrounding which is not usual, which is actually not very usual. So in this juncture, the very first thing as parents we need to know is that there is no point in hiding the realities from our children as early as newborns. So those parents who have very newborns in family, or those parents who are expecting, I would say no point in hiding your emotions, no point in hiding your worries, your fears, or hiding the very basic emotions that you are feeling from your children as early as they are born. Instead, if you have children who can understand, who can talk, it's a great idea to share some information about the pandemic with them. So the very first thing that we need to do is that both mommy and daddy, you are very well attached to your child now. So mommies, daddies are equally attached after the childbirth to the baby. So allow dads also to talk to children, because their connection is very much the same the way you feel, because at the time of the birth, father's testosterone levels are found to be going down by 40%, and they are equally connected to the child, so they can talk to child very much the way a mommy talks. uh, we really need to know that when the attachment is there, when the whole family is connected, and we are going through this process of changes in the routine, and now we are supposed to talk and keep our children informed. The good thing that comes out to be when we see how daddies function and how mommies function. So in a family, we do see a pattern where children are actually experiencing very beautiful balance coming out from mom and dad both. So when children are there in the family, mommies, we function very differently. Our brain functions very differently than daddies. And daddies, you have your unique flavor to put in the family. It is more true in the time of crisis. But mommies, more or less, in general, respond through their amygdala. And this has come from the functional MRIs of both parents. And we see that mommies, in cases of crisis, we are tilting towards emotions and memories of past experiences, whereas daddies are more tilting towards processing and information taking and then talking to children. In ideal scenario, if you ask me, parents, the very first thing that I just shared is to not keep your children in dark. It is not advisable. Start sharing the facts with them. You need not to talk necessarily about deaths or the losses that countries are facing, but you really can talk about what's happening around. You can really talk about how this virus initiated, how the virus is getting spread out. So both mommies and daddies, you two, when work in sync, will bring out a wonderful combination of information for your children, because naturally our brains are wired to function differently. So mommies, you bring out the very beautiful ways of stress response. You really bring out the very beautiful ways to address the emotional needs of children. And daddies are also very much inclined to participate in that, and they can take a step further also by having more or less information oriented talks with them. And this combination and the role reversal, daddy can become mommy and mommy can become daddy in their conversations, will give you immense support in keeping children posted. Once you keep them posted and prepare them, that's when you can keep them engaged. I will very clearly tell you that why I'm focusing again and again on sharing the load and bringing both the concept, because families that work in sync in crisis are found to be doing best in protecting children's emotional health. So we all are working to keep our families intact. And trust me, parents, with our work from home compulsions, our deadlines to meet, we have a lot of professional commitments to take care. And amidst all that, when we are raising children in crisis and we are managing them at home with their changes in routine, it's actually not an easy task. So the best and very first approach that we should have is to bring the family in sync, bring the family together, because both mom and dad can bring out their unique flavors to fight the battle. Mommies are very much inclined to have something which we call as taking care of the family as protective measures. And daddies are also found to be contributing in that. And both mommy and daddy are found to be contributing big time in creating soldiers out of children. So I'll tell you a quick example, and I'll share more such example in future slide, that if a child is coming to you and asking, hey, why can't I go out and play? If you end up saying something like, hey, we cannot go out. If we go out and if we catch virus, we will be sick. Instead of that, mommy and daddy, I request both of you to give children a feeling which is more like a feeling of fighting a battle. Give them a feeling of a soldier. And instead of saying that we cannot go out, a better answer to this particular question is, to beat the virus, we need to stay indoors. And this is something which will help the child to feel that, hey, I'm not helpless, rather, I'm empowered. I'm empowered to fight this battle. Why I'm saying so? Because we all play critical roles in lives of children, and daddies, if you are listening to me, this is a wonderful research coming out your way, where daddies are found to be influencing children not only in leadership and socialization, but also a fight back response. So the moment a daddy feels that, hey, this is something worrisome, or hey, this is something that is not going in right direction, children are found to be influenced by it a big time, because daddies, if you're if you are talking in a low tone, if your body language is not strong enough, children are found to be influenced by it big time. So if you really want to bring your children to a pedestal where they really want to fight it out, they really need to stay indoors, not following their usual routine, and still not getting hyper or getting engaged in productive activities, you really need to check your own body language, daddies, because you really contribute big time in fighting capacities of children. Mommies, I would really share one very beautiful research with you. The words that you see on your screen right now, these are some gibberish word. I really can't pronounce them correctly. Tebudish or something like that. And these words were given to children between the age group of 7 to 11 years. And they were asked to just hear. So there are multiple women who are saying these words, and children were given headphones to recognize their mom's voice. And I'm not sure whether my children will do it, but 97% children could recognize the mom's voice in less than a second. So, mommies, we are blessed. We are really blessed to have a natural connectivity with our children. We are blessed to have a connection that our children feel most. And in the time when family is going through a crisis or a trauma, children tend to adhere more to mommies. Children, if you have younger children under the age of 8, they really are very watchful, and they are actually copying mommies in processing emotional information. So their stress response is something that is very much dependent on mommy's stress response. So mommies, if you are listening to me, I would heavily recommend you that please have a look of your stress response, more so when you are talking to adults. Even if you're talking to other adults on phone or video calls, trust me, your children are watching. Your children are really uh, watchful of your responses. So this is something that you are naturally blessed with. You can impact your children big time and can reduce their stress levels big time when you check your own responses. So overall, the very first part that I wanted to share with you, that if you want to think about keeping children engaged, the very first thing that we need to focus on is to provide them the right kind of information, the age appropriate information. And the second thing that we really need to do about is to manage their stress levels. Then only you should think of keeping children engaged. Then only you should think of how do I keep my children busy? Because if these two things are not there, then it is going to be very difficult for your parents to bring the children to the level where they can keep themselves engaged, or you can keep them engaged. Now, how do you keep them engaged? What to do? So, on an average, I have shared this in my past sessions also a couple of times, but I'll share it again because it's so true right now in the time of crisis, or when we are facing a pandemic, is that on an average, Indian parents, or actually I would say parents across the globe, end up doing two kinds of parenting. One is instrumental and another one is effective. Instrumental parenting is very much like when you do the very basic mundane chores with your children. It is very much like doing daily activities of cleaning, mopping, brooming, cooking, baking. All these activities come under the category of instrumental parenting. Any additional activities that you do in terms of reading a book, watching a movie together, doing some academic related activities, guidance oriented activities, talking about the best case scenarios or ideal scenarios with your children, talking about great behavior, basically when you give gyan to them, and all that comes under the category of effective parenting. So if you ask me, the ideal answer is to have a combination of both. But when a family is going through a crisis, parents, when you really have work from home, professional commitments, and managing children within the four walls of home, I would heavily, heavily recommend you to go for instrumental parenting rather than effective parenting. Instrumental parenting is the way to go. Kindly, blindly focus on that. So, if you ask me a question like, how do I keep my children engaged? I have a toddler at home and I'm really struggling to work or take my meetings or calls when my toddler is roaming around. My humble answer to you would be, parent dear, give some kitchen dabbas to your child with the lids open, mix the lids, mix the dabbas, and let them play. Because these small gestures of putting the stuff back in cupboards, cleaning the cupboards, mending a broken chair, cleaning, mopping, brooming. These are the activities. You really don't need many toys. You really don't need many manipulatives around your home. Trust me, these are the best ways to keep children engaged. These are the best ways to have a family bonding time. There are research studies that clearly tell us, clearly highlight that family bonding happens best when family is cooking a meal together, laying out the dishes together for lunch or dinner, washing dishes together, even much more than the family board game time. So instrumental parenting is the way to go, parents. Please don't fill your home with toys or plan activities. You really can do. I would not deny that having some activity time or tabletop activities won't help you. Yes, it will help for sure. But the best way to bond, if you ask me, in this crisis, and also will automatically result in keeping your children engaged, is actually through cooking, baking, brooming, mopping, washing. All these tasks done together is the best way to do. If you have very young children, 3 to 4, I can give you one tip that I have used with multiple families in my counseling sessions one-on-one, because nowadays I'm actually bombarded with calls, and I gave this suggestion to one family, and they came back to me and they said it worked like wonders. So I have now shared it with multiple families and getting good reviews. Is that just take a dirty a cloth which is lying in your home, make it like a glove. You need not to make fingers or thumbs, but a cover to the hand, and put it on children and ask them to do the dusting. They feel like I am the super powerful person who is cleaning up the home, and it works wonderfully for dusting. Simple exercise, but keep them busy a big time. Kneading is very much helpful because it becomes as a stress buster for young children. So half kneaded dough given to toddlers work wonderfully, because it is a great stress buster for them as well, because when the fingers and thumbs are involved in the dough, they feel a lot of stress going out of the body. Gardening, watering, these are the stuff that you should give to them. And one more thing, I'll share it in future 2 slides as well, is that children should know what they are up to. So you really need to tell them, hey, 11 a.m. I have a call, 2 p.m. I have a call, 4 p.m. I have this meeting. these are the times in the morning itself. Try to inform your children. Once they have predictability during the day, that's when they will give you time to connect or work for your professional commitments, and they will be well prepared that mom or dad is not available during this time frame. So sharing your professional commitments in the morning with your children will help you big time. Like today, I'll tell you, I informed them that I have to go for this session, so I need a break between 2 to 4 to work on this. And so far, they have cooperated. I don't know about the future few minutes, but yes, so far it is going smooth. Few quick tips, and I'll share more tips with you when I start answering your questions. But this is something that has given me great result while I'm working with thousands of families in this particular period. These are the few differences that we need to know as parents. So I have shared a couple of pointers with you already, but very first thing that I shared, if I can summarize, is that instead of over informing children about the deaths and about the losses, please don't think that you should not talk at all about this pandemic. That's actually not possible. So, very young children are also ready to understand and sense the changes in the routine. So, providing age appropriate information is something that you really, really need to think on. As parents, we end up actually crossing the line between precaution and fear. So, this is something that I would request heavily to focus on, especially parents if you have children younger than age group of 8 to 9 years. If you have children younger than that, this is something you really, really need to be aware of in terms of precautions versus fear. So the moment you say, "Oh my goodness, if you go out and if there is a virus will attack you. Don't share stuff in the family." This is something is going to the level where you will put your children in fear. Instead, if you talk about hand washing, instead if you talk about no, we cannot go out and meet your friends because we might spread the virus. These are the precautionary measures that you are talking about. So be very cautious in your conversations about the virus, and kindly do not cross the line between precaution and fear. I would really request you to share only precautionary and safety measures with your children, but not instilling fear in them. Similar lines, I would say, the more you tell them that we are staying indoors because we need to beat the virus. I use this a lot with many children that, hey, if you want to stay fit, you got to earn it. And you got to earn it by hand washing, you got to earn it by staying indoors. And this is the way we are telling them, empowering them that they are an integral part of uh, the whole process of fighting this battle. Uh, I really feel that it is very important to not make children give the feeling of helplessness. And if you ask me, as adults, we all go through this, that at times when we are really confined in four walls of home, we might feel helpless. We might be struggling with some stuff at home. We might be having some challenges in the surrounding, and unknowingly, if we are passing this on to our children, we might instill some kind of helplessness in them. And parents dear, if your children get into the mode of helplessness, there is nothing that will keep them engaged. Children, when they feel fearful and helpless, they tend to attach a lot with mommies and daddies. They come again and again to moms and dads for every single thing. The things that they were used to do earlier on their own will now come to you for every single thing. And at that point, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep them engaged. It's going to be very difficult for you to ask them, "Hey, can you help me in cleaning the home?" So please make sure that you you keep these pointers in mind, where you are telling them more of safety measures, you are empowering them, and you are checking your own body language, because what you say and how you say is something that you really need to take care of. So when I was explaining critical roles of mommies, I explained this, that your body language is being watched so many times by your children. So kindly make sure that the way you are saying it, with the strength in your own body, with the positivity in your own body, will pass on to your children as well. And once you sort this out, trust me, children are naturally wired to keep themselves engaged. Children are naturally wired to keep themselves busy. The two most favorite manipulatives of children across globe, the two most favorite toys of children across globe, water and sand. So if you can create a water zone, or allow your children to have a longer bath, give them a bathtub where they are with adult supervision, but they are playing with water, splashing it around, will help them a lot. But this all will happen when children are not into the mode of fear and helplessness. One important point that I want to share with each one of you before I take up your Q&A is about social distancing and social isolation. So this is something I really, really want you to take note of. Government of India has asked us, and many other countries, I would say, practicing social distancing and asking people to stay indoors to beat the virus. But please don't confuse it with social isolation, because you are socially maintaining social distancing, but nobody is asking you to stay disconnected with the extended family members and friends. And this is more true for children. So parents, having a video call with the friends of your children, having video calls with extended family members, and making these video call as part of the routine will help you big time in not only keeping your children engaged, but the bigger benefit coming out of that is children are really not feeling isolated. Children are not feeling disconnected, and because socialization is the key of happiness for children. So we really need to take into account where we ensure that our children are having video calls, our children are talking to their grandparents or their extended family members, cousins, friends in the community. Having a video call will help big time. And trust me, more than audio calls, video calls are far more beautiful. I have seen children showing their toys to each other, 4-year-old children showing toys to each other through video calls. They run around in the home, get a toy, and show it to their friend. Hey, I have this. Hey, I have that. I have seen children even reading books to each other on video call. So please ensure that you have that thing for sure with them. And I'll take up the Q&A now. So if Sweetie can help me in taking the questions, it will be a great benefit, because I'll share more tips based on the age group that you are asking for. From infants to teenagers, I can help you with. Sweetie, if you can help me with the questions. I have received a couple of questions as well.
Hi Meghna. Hi Meghna, Carolyn here. So
Yes.
ET has logged off of the event due to some technical challenges. Will it be
Can
difficult
you
for
be
you
little
to?
louder?
So there
I'm
are
sorry, I can't
some
hear you,
questions.
Carolyn.
Sure, Meghna. To log in again, there are some questions being sent privately to you as a host. Do you mind taking them one by one?
No, no, not at all. I will take it up for sure. The very first question coming to me, I think, Carolyn, you can answer that better. Is this presentation being recorded and a parent has missed the first half and would like to listen to in depth about it?
Sure. So the presentation is being recorded. We tomorrow, the presentation along with the audio, both are going to be available for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, another parent is asking about teenagers. They are used to go out of house frequently, and now in the house, and they are becoming restless. Very good question. And trust me, on an average in a day, parent dear, I end up meeting close to 10 and 11 parents on calls for sure, not meeting in person. But most of them end up asking this question. So one thing about teenagers we really need to know and empathize is the hormonal dance that's happening in them. We really know the how tough it is for a teenager because of the hormonal changes the body goes through. Just to keep you posted as a parent of a teenager, when the family is going through a change or a trauma or a crisis, uh, teenagers tend to perceive it much more than what it is. So the very first thing that as a parent you need to know is that probably the helplessness feeling or the fearful feelings are far higher in teenagers at times than what they express and what you and me are feeling as adults. In such cases, the very first thing that parents need to do is to understand that this is a feeling that is going on in their mind and probably adding on to their restlessness. So, what you need to do in this one? So, for teenagers, I always recommend that when they get into doing daily chores with you, when you are doing instrumental parenting and cooking and baking, anything which has a step by step process excites teenagers much more than younger children. So, cooking or preparing a furniture, which has a step by step process. These kind of things work wonderfully for teenagers. And when you are doing these things, if you have younger children, so parents, if you have children under the age of 10, I always say whenever you are doing cooking, baking, or daily chores with them, kindly sing to them. And I'm not asking about playing music on music player in the background. I'm asking about you singing for them, because no matter how Besura you think you are, but trust me, you are very Surila to your children. So if you have children under the age of 10, sing to them. But parent dear, if you have children in teenage, don't sing, instead talk. And what should you talk? Talk about your own real life experiences with them. These conversations are wonderful to reduce the restlessness in children, to reduce the hyperactivity of teenagers. So your own family life, your own conversations, if you have faced any crisis, God forbidden not, but if you have, please do share with them in this period, because this is something will give you immense results. Also, watching the things that excite teenagers with them, sitting with them and watching together is something which will help you immensely. I know some of the choices that teenagers have, we are just not interested in those things. But if you can, please change your own preferences a bit and sit with your teenagers and watch together any documentaries, or enhancing a bit of the family screen time. So one thing that I would heavily recommend for teenagers is to not give them a tab or mobile or something in their hand. Try to bring the screen time as social screen time, parent dear, where you all are sitting together and watching something on TV. And if this social screen time is a bit more than what you usually used to have, is perfectly time in such case, fine in such cases. But make your screen time as family screen time and a social screen time. That should help you big time. Teenagers are also excited about seeing the product. So for younger children, if they have under the age of 10 years, they are very much happy in the process. But the teenagers are more excited about product. So painting or something that gives them an end product after the exercise helps a lot. You can also involve teenagers in physical exercises like skipping if you have it at home, or any other physical exercise, because sweating it out is very important for teenagers. Sweat releases endorphins, which reduces stress and restlessness. So that should help you, I hope. I'm taking up the next question because I'm having a thread of questions to answer. I hope I could help you a bit with the teenagers. Good luck, parent dear. It is not easy anyhow to raise teenagers in today's world. And in crisis, I know it must be tough for you. Any suggestions for 2-year-old baby activities? I have twins. Oh, wow, you already have twins. Congratulations, mommy dear, because half of your job is done. Uh, young children respond best to their peers. The more parents think about uh, doing activities for them, or the more parents think about involving or engaging children, I would say really will be tough for you. But if you have these two children, most of the time these two will help each other in keeping each other engaged. So that's a wonderful thing you are blessed with. Trust me, all families, those who have single child at home right now, are struggling big time, because that's when the children expect adults to participate. We all are struggling in one way or the other, but we see this pattern where children are getting more clingy to parents. For 2-year-olds, as I said in one of my conversation, water and sand work wonderfully, literally work wonderfully. So if you can create a water zone, take a bathtub and have a lukewarm water for your children, where till the thigh or till the tummy, they can be in the water, sitting in it and playing around it. What happens with water is that it releases the energy to the extent that after that, if you give them a diet which is rich in carbohydrates, they sleep better. And when children sleep better, their restlessness reduces. So try this activity. This should help you. For 2-year-old, I would also recommend you to understand that their attention span is not very high, but there is a catch here. So if it is an adult led activity, which means something, an activity which you created for your children, their attention span will be close to 3 to 4 minutes. But anything which is child led, that means you give this stuff to them and children create something on their own, their attention span will be much more higher, close to 15-20 minutes. So I heavily recommend mommy and daddies who have younger children that you bring the toys, you bring the blocks, and leave the children with the stuff. You leave the children with the kitchen dibbas. Don't tell them that you need to put the lids on the dabbas. The more you get yourself involved with them, the lesser will be the time that they will spend on those activities. So anything which is child led, anything which is purely guided by children themselves, will allow them to stay on one activity for longer. So segregating spoons with forks, segregating blue flowers with yellow flowers, these kind of activities children will love to do, provided you mix everything and leave the scene. Don't be physically present over there. You can watch your child from a distance to, because I heavily recommend adult supervision, especially in certain activities. But I would really request you to leave the children with the stuff and let them create their own, uh, really own uh, toys, own processes, and they will enjoy it thoroughly. Okay. Any simple game or activity tips for age group from 4 to 7? If you have a space in your family, I would heavily recommend you to take up chalk or anything, or a pen that you can wash off, washable pens, and then draw a trail on the floor. For 4 to 7 years, it works wonderfully. So you can have circles where children need to do froggy jump, and then the trail goes out where children need to hop on one leg. Then you make a square where you write skip. Children need to skip 10 times. Then you make something which is full of numbers. Jump here 3 times. make noises of duck 5 times, and then you again have a big circle where they need to dance. And this activity trail is something that I also follow multiple times with children of this age group. And some parents are doing it 2 to 3 times in a day with them. Now, one thing that you really need to take into account here is that whatever you are planning for your children, you need to be with them and doing it once or twice during the day. So you can leave the trail on, but I would say participate in that, because that will help them immensely and excited about it. So these are the activities which will keep them physically active that you can think of. Something that works wonderfully, especially for 6 to 7 year old children, a bit older than 4 or 5, I would say, is that they really want to know something which is a time zone. So it's not only about activities. You can create time zones for these children, like this is your screen time, this is your cooking time, this is your dishwashing time, this is the laundry folding time, this is the bathroom cleaning time, this is the time the family will play games, the board games. So if you can give them something as time zone, I would heavily recommend you to do that, because this will help them immensely in having predictability of the day. So you should get benefit out of that. Can you tell us some activities with which we can teach him in house, since the schools are closed? The age group is 2.5 years. Parents, I would heavily recommend you to keep academics as something which is only a small part of the day's activity. This is a myth among parents that this is the time we need to use as homeschooling. Homeschooling is something that will add on to the pressure to children. Please understand, our children are very sensitive. They are already going through a battle within themselves where they are facing changes in their routine. It's not easy to stay confined in 4 walls. They are not allowed to have their evening fun time. So the very first thing that I would say, if you are thinking about academics, kindly not have any academic activity for children in the evening hours. We have seen children struggling big time if the activities are more tilting towards academics in evening time. One more thing that I'll tell you, if you have younger children than 5, parents, kindly, if you can spare evening hours from your professional commitments for your family members, nothing can beat it, because that is the time we have seen children are showing us pattern of crankiness, restless, more in evening times, especially younger than 5. And by the time parents realize it, it becomes a bigger battle to handle. So I would heavily recommend to you to keep evening hours away from your professional commitments and spend more as family time. Anything that you can do should be fine. Now, in terms of activities related to schooling or so, the ideal time to do academic activity is something post breakfast and before lunch. So if you want to do something related to academics, between 10 to 12 in the morning is something we heavily recommend to do. And in this time period, you really need to bring out a combination of tabletop activities and physical activities. So you cannot keep everything on physical only, and you cannot keep everything on tabletop. So tabletop activities can be anything like segregating spoons from forks or color differentiation for 2.5-year-old. This works wonderfully, where you put the big blocks and the small blocks. In this age group, one thing that you really need to know as parents, sensory exploration works wonderfully. So anything that they can touch and feel. So hiding their toys in rava or suji and then asking them to find it out. Hiding their toys in the rice dabba and asking them to find it out is something that has given us great results. Beading, threading, tying shoelaces, is something that they enjoy very much. Buttoning, unbuttoning, these exercises, all sensory explorations where the 5 fingers are involved, is something that they enjoy big time. And we'll also give them the academically oriented concept as well, like small and big, heavy and light. In terms of physical activities, like I said, please bring a combination of tabletop as well as physical activities. I would request you to focus on having something like up and down. So if they can go up and down, up and down, it might be on a small stool or table and then jumping from there. You are not only giving them the concept of up and down, but you are also allowing them to be physically active in and out, go inside a room and come out of the room. That is something that you can use for 2.5 years old. But please focus on bringing a balance to them and kindly not provide any kind of academic activities in the evening hours to young children. I hope I could help you in some way, parent dear. How to deal with infants? They get bored very easily and have to be kept engaged. Well, infants, my friend, what works wonderfully for them is music and movement. So M&M is what we call. We really feel that music is one thing that has given us great results when it comes to infant. But before you feel that they are getting bored and they have to be kept engaged, I would say kindly focus on 3 things that I would really recommend you to do is bringing a routine. For the very first thing that you need to do is bringing a routine. I know all of us are not living a routine which we are used to, but I would really request you to ensure that we still have a routine for our children. So, if children were used to getting up in the morning at 7 a.m., I am fine if they don't get up till 8 or 8:30. But parents, dear, if one day your child is getting up at 8 and then another day at 11, then another day again at 10 and then again at 7, this random hours will give you big tough time. Trust me. So you need to ensure that your children are having a routine where their wake up time can be shifted, but it must be pretty much the same. And the gap is should be within 40 minutes. So if Monday they get up at 8, on Tuesday they should get up by 8:40. They on Wednesday they should get up by 8:15, 8:20. So within this 40-minute range is something that we heavily recommend. Otherwise, the brain gets into a mode where children are feeling lost without a routine and they become more restless, and then you think of keeping them engaged. Instead, target on the root cause, and the root cause is that we are not able to give them a routine now. So that's the one thing. Second thing that we need to do with infants and younger children, in fact for everybody, I use this in adult counseling as well, that morning within wake up and then morning 1 and 2 hours, children should take bath. So the more you delay the bath, and the bath timings are random, like sometime in the evening or so, especially when we are confined in 4 walls, trust me, it will really make children restless. It is true for adults also. If adults don't take bath in the morning within first 2 hours of getting up, this has given us clear-cut pattern where they are found to be very lousy and lazy during the day. And this, because of the energies that infants have, they really don't show it as if they are lazy, but then they become cranky, and you will see the impact in their food pattern also. And the third point that you need to keep into account for infants is to give them a combination of carbs and protein. If your children are really giving you a feeling that they are bored, they are restless, then I would heavily recommend you to give a bit of carbs in the breakfast and a bit of carbs in the dinner, and you can give protein rich lunch to them. That should help you. In terms of keeping them engaged for infants, I pretty much explained right now when I was answering questions for 2.5 years old children. The first 3 years of life, children work wonderfully on anything which allows them to play with their fingers and toes. So anything that you can give them where they are really doing sensory explorations, where they are really doing kneading or anything that they can feel from their hand, will help you immensely in keeping them busy. Uh, I have seen most of the parents creating fear in kids to make them listen to them like of a monster so that they finish their food. Is this a good practice? Uh, Mommy dear, no. My answer to your question is no. It's not a good practice because trust me, food is one thing that we are naturally blessed with. Trust me. Remember when your child was born, did you train your child on how to take milk from mommy's breast? No, right? We all come with this natural reflux of sucking milk from mommy. Trust me, this is something that Mother Nature has provided us with, and we as adults actually interfere in that. And that's when children become fussy eaters or picky eaters, and that's a big battle to handle. We have a full 1 hour session on eating and food habits of children. But to answer your question, the moment you instill fear, or the moment you talk about a monster who will eat you up if you're not growing strong, is something a big no-no. In terms of child psychology, you are really taking the natural tendencies of hunger and satiety of hunger away from your children, and instilling fear will give you temporary solution but not a permanent solution, mommy dear. So no, I would not recommend you to focus on these points at all. Mm, uh, my 2.5-year-old always sticks around to mommy and daddy and shows no interest in activities. Anything can be done for that. So I really would recommend you to focus on the pointers that I just shared with the parent about infants. Bring out the routine, give the bath within first 2 hours. These are small things will make a huge difference. Children are showing more clinginess or no interest in activities when they are feeling lost and they don't have a predictability of the day. So routine, not following a routine, I would say, is a bigger killer than what you think of. So parents dear, if you are listening to me, bring a routine in your children's lives. This will help you immensely in reducing their clinginess to you. And I would in general request each one of you to not think that you need to keep your children engaged. Leave them with the stuff and you move away from the scene. They come to you because they really feel somebody standing or sitting next to them. The moment they know that they are all by themselves, that's when they look around and find the ways. In the name of safety, parents, we are really not allowing children to explore the world. As long as you are watching your children from a distance and as long as they are safe, uh, please allow them to explore the world around them. Allow them to play with the newspaper. I always leave young children, pretty much this age group, with the newspaper. Don't think that they will eat it up. As long as they are tearing it, it is a wonderful exercise for sensory exploration and it should help you big time. Uh, my toddler is 2 years, 7 months, and he just doesn't sit in place for any activity if we plan anything. It's not possible to sit with him entirely to perform. I can totally understand that. And so we end up putting on TV and then feel guilty about it. This happens from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Oh, wow. And I'll be very honest to you in answering your question, parent dear. It is perfectly fine if you have a bit of increase in their screen time, because this is the time that they really need to uh, have this exposure of their own thoughts, their own choices. It's perfectly fine. But having a screen for the whole day is something as big no no. I really feel that for your this age group, 2 years and 7 months, if two of you are working, in first few slides I talked about sharing the load. So this has given me great results, mommies and daddies. If you two are there, mom and dad, then it is a wonderful idea to divide your professional commitments during the part of the day. We have given this tip to many parents where a mommy works from 8 to 10, then she takes a break between 10 to 11 from professional commitments, and then daddy dear takes works in that time period. And when mommy is on busy with her professional commitment, daddy dear takes up the job of taking care of child. So in such cases, when each one of you is taking turn, first of all, you are not feeling frustrated or stressed out about your professional commitments or not meeting your deadlines, because you take parts, you do it in parts. So if you can manage, it's a good idea to not have the call timings or meeting timings, both of you at the same time. This helps big time. Second thing that we have seen in children is that uh, once you are into a routine and once you have a set pattern, then planning a day prior will help you big time. That tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do with my child, that tomorrow I am going to give my children a kneading activity. Tomorrow I am going to give my children a drawing activity, something to write on, something to paste on, putting fingertips, making butterfly out of fingertips, have doing thumb printing, leaf printing, all these activities. If you can do it in the a day prior, keep the stuff ready before you sleep, and then give it to your children. It should help you big time. Yeah. Uh, I'm I'm actually having a lot of questions, but we are running out of time now.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Meghna, I was just about to, mention the same thing that we're actually running out of time. I believe that a couple of questions also have overlap because I'm sure that most parents are in similar situation, and hence I think I hope Meghna was able to answer most of the questions. If not, what we could also do is you could write back to either me, that is Sweetie Bantia, or you could write your queries back to Caroline Jacob, or you could reply back to the wellness email ID with your queries, and we will get a response from Meghna and circle back with a solution in terms of how to manage a situation that you're facing right now. Alternatively, in addition to what Meghna also suggested, one point that I could also, put in is that the firm has provided Zumba, yoga, Bollywood dance, and workout sessions. So if you think that if any session is relevant and you think that your kids will be able to enjoy the dance session or enjoy the Zumba session, why not that you and your spouse and your child could do that session together? If they are of the right set of age group, why not, engage with them during these workout sessions? We have sent a calendar invite and the schedule details yesterday. There are 4 sessions happening every day. There's a schedule that's published, so please, if you could take time out and get in this activity along with your kids and your spouse, I think that'll also be a good activity to keep your kids engaged, and I'm sure burn off the extra energy. I think a lot of parents have mentioned about that point as well, and then maybe get them exhausted and help them fall into routine, I believe. So with that, I think we will conclude today's session. Thank you so much, Meghna, for taking time out, joining us, giving us such good insights about how to handle these situations. And I believe that these tips are not just for the current times, but I'm sure they're going to be helping for a longer duration of engagement for all our parents. So once again, thank you so much, Meghna. Thank you so much, all the participants, for joining the call. We have a very interesting session coming up tomorrow on how to ensure that you're eating healthy during the work from home We have a nutritionist coming over. The nutritionist is definitely going to share some easy and healthy tips and recipes on how to keep yourself healthy during this time. So do log in tomorrow for the session, and do spread the word along with yourself to your colleagues. You can get your family members to participate in these sessions, and we look forward to your feedback on all of these sessions. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Meghna. Thank you.
Thanks, Atan. Stay healthy, stay safe, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.